What is up, everybody? It's JT Sports and back you guys with another video. This video, I'm here with my NFC North 2020 NFL draft grades, giving my draft grades for each team in the NFC North. And if you haven't already, make sure that you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. And after the draft and the off season, a lot of people struggle to find content and videos to make, but not me. I upload some of the best off-season content on YouTube. I mean, we go in depth team by team, breaking down positions, position battles. We do a lot of things on this channel after the NFL draft. So make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get notified when I upload a new video. So let's start off with the Detroit Lions. So the Detroit Lions, with the third overall pick in the draft, they ended up taking cornerback Jeffrey Okudah out of Ohio State University. He was the best cornerback in his draft class. A lot of people says that Jeffrey Okudah reminds them of Patrick Peterson, and I really see the comparison because I mean both of these guys have impressive footwork. I mean, go back and watch Jeffrey Okudah's combine workout. I mean, this dude's footwork is absolutely sensational. I mean, he has some of the most beautiful footwork I've ever seen in my lifetime. Then in the second round, the Lions caught a lot of people off guard when they took halfback DeAndre Swift out of the University of Georgia. Now, me personally, I knew that the Detroit Lions were most likely going to end up taking a halfback for the reason that Kerryon Johnson is a talented halfback, but he can't handle a RB1 workload, which means I'm not trying to say that he's not talented enough to handle the workload. I'm just saying that he can't stay healthy enough that he can end up handling a full halfback one workload. So you got to bring in another halfback that can split carries with Kerryon Johnson. So he could probably be in like the 10, 12 carry range without him getting injured. Because listen, if he gets like 20 carries a game, he's not really going to last that long throughout the NFL season. So DeAndre Swift makes a lot of sense. Now, a lot of people were saying like, why would you draft DeAndre Swift this early instead of drafting offensive lineman early for the fact that the Detroit Lions, when it came to run blocking, they were not really good. I mean, halfbacks in the backfield for the Detroit Lions did not really see a lot of holes last season. So they ended up fixing that concern and they threw the draft. They took Jonah Jackson out of Ohio State University and they took Logan Sternberg and the following round in the fourth round, 121st overall out of the University of Kentucky. Now, Logan Sternberg went after Jonah Jackson, was a little bit of a surprise to me because I feel that he's better than Jonah Jackson. Logan Stenberg is one of the best run blocking offensive linemen in his draft class. He also came from a run heavy offense from the University of Kentucky. And if the Lions need him to, he could be a day one starter. If not, he could be a really solid backup. Now, Jonah Jackson, on the other hand, I mean, he has some potential. I mean, he's really big and massive and athletic as well, but I don't think he will be starting day one for the Detroit Lions. One thing about Jonah Jackson, in my opinion, is that he just plays absolutely too high, in my opinion. I mean, this dude, I don't know what it is with him, but he just doesn't know how to lower his pad level that much. And that is going to work in the Big Ten when you're just able to just out physical and not muscle everybody. But in the NFL, if you play like how you played, you're gonna get knocked on your butt. So I mean, for the Detroit Lions, they got some pretty good offensive line depth in the later rounds of the draft. They also selected Julian Okoro, the edge rusher out of Notre Dame, which I had him marked to the Detroit Lions because his brother already plays on the Detroit Lions and I already predicted that they will go ahead and draft his brother if he was available. And this guy should be able to be a day one fill in as well. So then they also selected Quintez Cephas out of Wisconsin. Now, this guy isn't anything spectacular. He's not a dynamic athlete or anything like that. He reminds me a lot of Geronimo Allison for the Green Bay Packers. He has good hands, but I mean, he's not really a guy who's going to make a lot of big plays after the catch. But I mean, he's a guy who can move the chains and things like that. So I think that's another solid pickup. He's also a solid run blocker coming out that wide receiver position. So the grade I give the Detroit Lions, I give them an A minus. I felt they had a pretty good draft overall. I felt like they had one of the most underrated drafts in the NFL. And you look at what they were able to improve. Now I would have wanted them to, maybe go a little bit defensive heavy in like round 5, maybe. But I mean, I felt their draft was pretty good overall. So moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Now the Green Bay Packers took quarterback Jordan Love out of Utah State with the first round selection they had. They actually traded up to get him, and a lot of people were killing the Green Bay Packers for this move. A lot of people were giving them a F plus for this move and things like that. I don't think Jordan Love getting taken in the first round was a bad move at all. I actually gave the move a B if you watch my first round draft grades and reactions. The Green Bay Packers know that Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have that long left. He probably has about 2 or 3 years left, maybe four at most. But I mean, eventually you got to look at the future. So I mean, I don't blame Green Bay for trading up, especially when you have a talented quarterback like Jordan Love. Okay, then in the second round, they go ahead, they select AJ Dillon. Now that was a big surprise to me because they already have Aaron Jones and you got Jamal Williams. You also got Dexter Williams as well. So I mean, the halfback group for Green Bay is really crowded. So you bring in AJ Dillon. Now AJ Dillon, I don't know if the Packers need a fullback, anything like that, but he can also play fullback as well. But I mean, that was a really questionable pick there. Then they also select Josiah Diagro, the tight end out of Cincinnati. Okay, that pick made a lot of sense because the Green Bay Packers need a tight end. They let Jimmy Graham walk in free agency. You still got Sternberger there as well. So interested to see what happens at the tight end position. They get linebacker Kamal Martin out of Minnesota. I like that pick. Then they get a couple of interior guys in the next couple of rounds. In round six, you get John Runyon out of the University of Kentucky, big physical offensive guard who is really good when it comes to run blocking. Then you get the center Jake Hansen out of Oregon. So I mean, you also get Jonathan Garvin, the edge rush out of Miami, who I feel has a lot of potential. So I mean, for the Green Bay Packers, my draft grade for them is a C minus. Now let's play a game real quick. Let's pause the video and let's play I Spy real quick. So go through the Green Bay Packers draft picks and tell me what position of need is missing. If you said wide receiver, you would be correct because the Green Bay Packers needed another wide receiver. And they didn't address that in free agency. And we thought they were going to address that in the draft. They didn't do that at all. Now, please don't tell me that Montez Scantling and Alan Lazard are going to be anything sensational, right? Because here's why. You go back and you watch that 49ers game. You can run the football you want to. I don't care if you're a running ground team, okay, like the 49ers. I can understand that argument, right? But you still could have taken one of the best receiving. This was a deep wide receiving class. This is one of the best receiving draft classes that we've had in a very long time. The Green Bay Packers could have at least took one or two wide receivers in this deep draft class, right? But instead of doing that, they don't do anything. I mean, they got depth at all the positions of need, but they didn't get the most important position of need in going into this draft class for them, which was in a wide receiver. Right now, I know Green Bay is a run heavy team and things like that. You maybe think Alan Lazard and Montez Scantling are good enough, but I mean, go back and watch that 49ers game. I mean, eventually, you can be a running pound team all you want to, but eventually, you're going to have to be able to throw the football through the air. And you go back and watch that 49ers game, they weren't able to do that because I don't think it was because of Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, you can only throw it to Devontae Adams so many times until he ends up getting a triple team. So they needed another number one option who they could pair up with Devontae Adams and take that pressure off him and take some of that pressure off Aaron Rodgers, and they were not able to do that. And listen, I understand if they're a running ground football team. Okay, that makes sense. The 49ers were. But the 49ers could throw the football if they needed to throw the football. Go back and watch that Saints game. Go back and watch the Cardinals game that they had back in the regular season. When the 49ers had to air the football out, they were able to do so. And the Green Bay Packers were not able to do so on multiple occasions. Basically, last season, if you stopped the run game of Green Bay, you basically stopped that whole entire offense. So I'm giving the Green Bay Packers a C minus. I don't. A lot of people are giving them F's and D's. I don't think their draft class was that bad. I just think it's the fact that they didn't take a wide receiver at all that makes this draft class for them a C minus. Now, moving on to the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings had a boatload of picks. They selected Justin Jefferson with the first overall selection, the 22nd overall pick. And I thought he was one of the best receivers in his draft class. I really like that pick a lot. He's going to end up being a really good replacement for Stephon Diggs. He actually reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs coming out of college. They also select cornerback Jeff Gladden, who I was really high on. I had him mocked to the Vikings in my final mock draft. Then they get Azaro Cleveland, the offensive tackle out of Boise State, who I felt should have went late in the first round, and the Minnesota Vikings get him in the second round. I thought that's a steal. They should end up inserting him into the lineup right away. Then you also get Cameron Chancellor, the cornerback out of Mississippi State. I was really high on him. Then you also, let's skip over a couple of picks. You get Troy Dye in the fourth round. I don't know if he's going to be a starter right away for Minnesota. Don't really know. I mean, he could, but potentially be really good on special teams and potentially end up being a solid starting halfback or starting linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. Excuse me. I mean, you could bring him in on nickel downs and dime packages and things like that because he's really good at coverage. So I'm suggesting that the Minnesota Vikings are probably going to make him gain a little bit of weight because he is like 235, I believe. So I think they might want him to get to like 245, maybe. 240, maybe somewhere around that range. Then they also get my guy KJ Osborne out of the University of Miami. I am a Miami Hurricanes fan, and I was really shocked that KJ Osborne went in the fifth round. I actually thought he would end up going either round six or round seven, or maybe potentially undrafted. This guy is an incredible wide receiver. I mean, he has strong hands. He's not the fastest guy. He's not a burner or anything like that, but he is a hard worker. He runs solid routes, good hands. So, I mean, I think the Minnesota Vikings are getting a really good fit. He could maybe be their wide receiver number 3 or wide receiver number 4. Then they also go get another offensive lineman. They also get a backup quarterback in Nathan Stanley, who I feel was a solid quarterback for the University of Iowa. His film to me shows backup quarterback. So overall, I think the Minnesota Vikings had one of the better drafts than anybody in the NFL. So I'm giving them an A. I thought their draft was pretty solid. I feel they had one of the most underrated draft classes that a lot of people aren't really talking about. So yeah, moving on to the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears, I mean, they didn't really have a lot of draft capital to work with, but I felt they did the most of what they had. First, they selected tight end Cole Kmet with their with their first overall selection on the draft since they didn't have a first round pick. And this is surprised a lot of people because now him on the roster makes it like what 10 tight ends now. So you got Cole Kmet, who I felt was the best tight end in this draft class. Then you get cornerback Jalen Johnson, who was a first round caliber cornerback in my opinion. So he was a very good pick for the Chicago Bears because he's going to be able to start right away. Then you get Travis Gibson, the defensive end out of Tulane. Okay, he was one of the better pass rushers that they had in the group of 5. So overall, the Chicago Bears had a decent draft, a B. I thought their draft was pretty solid. Nothing that really knocked me off my shoes, anything like that, but it was a solid draft. So let me know what you guys think about my NFC North draft grades down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.